sacrificed a lot to be here, you know.
Of course.
That needs to mean something, and
Of course.
not just something small just for me.
It shouldn't
It needs
have
to mean something for a lot of
for
people,
generations to come.
Yeah. Everything we're doing here at Unfiltered, I got inspired to do it because like I wanted my son to see his dad like working towards like a worthy goal in life. Something that fills me with passion, something that inspires me and keeps me motivated.
Put that on display.
Yeah. I want
no.
to be that example of that. Welcome to the Unfiltered podcast. I'm your host, RAF, and this is my co-host, Saheer, the engineer.
Hey, what up, man?
What's good, bro? How you doing?
Just chilling, man. Just taking it day by day.
Yeah.
Grinding it out. How about you?
Doing well. Yeah, excited to do another episode.
Always.
It feels good, you know, like we started this thing from the garage, and it just feels good. Like it feels like a real startup, you know.
Absolutely.
Just starting from the bottom.
Hell yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and responsible for every minute, every second of what we do.
Right.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
No, it's great.
But that comes with its like, we got to wear every single hat too.
Yeah.
So it's busy. It's hectic.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't say you get bored at least
Right.
with what we do.
Yeah.
So that I love.
Me too.
Hell
Like
yeah.
this is as an entrepreneur, I like this stage of startup is like this early stage, you know,
Sure.
where we have to put on like multiple hats and use all our experiences in life to like
Right.
really push this thing forward, you know.
Yeah.
It's, like,
Absolutely. And keep living life, you know, like
Right.
you learn. I think with this, even when we first started and you had just like talked to me about like potentially doing something like this, like that showed me. And I think you had from the jump always mentioned you have to do multiple things.
Right.
And
right.
I think this
Yeah.
really like solidifies that, and I can like live that out and see how like that benefits me too.
You know, for those in the audience who are watching us for the first time, I'm a tech and music entrepreneur. I go by RAF, and I've been, you know, as we mentioned, I've worn almost 80% of the hats in the music industry over the past, almost a decade and a half. And
Hell yeah.
This is my co-host Saheer, and he's been a recording artist and studio engineer
Hell yeah.
for like 2 decades.
Yeah, been a minute.
Yeah, and we make these episodes for our 2 toddlers.
Yeah.
I have a son. He's got a daughter.
Yeah.
And we reckon like in the future they're gonna search their dads, and we just want them to find something quality, something good.
Right.
And if you guys happen to get some value out of these conversations, then that's the gravy. So yeah.
Yeah, that's the plus. That's like
Yeah.
you do it for your own internal reasons, things that motivate you.
Right.
And like I think having kids is an excellent motivator for folks that are I guess searching for deeper meaning. I think that's right there, you're passing things along.
Right.
And I'm sure in your day-to-day already, without even thinking about it, you are cultivating the next
Right.
generation. So
Right.
yeah, man,
That's
like
facts.
it's good. I love listening to you, like listening to all aspects of your life. I think like that creates more of a cohesive image, and you can learn much more, from people's like reactions to different situations.
Right.
I feel.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, I got inspired to do this show and this YouTube channel and everything we're doing here at Unfiltered. I got inspired to do it because like I wanted my son to see his dad like working towards like a worthy goal in life. Like
absolutely.
I just something that fills me with passion, something that inspires me and keeps me motivated. Like I just wanted him to see that.
Put that on display.
I wanted to be that example of that, and not just have him grow up where he's growing up and I'm just like, follow your dreams, son.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've always like been the type of guy who like inspires others to follow their dreams, so
Hell yeah.
that would be a huge part of my personality as a dad to my son.
Yeah.
He would see his dad always inspiring him to follow his dreams.
Sure.
So if I don't follow my dreams, then who am I to give this advice?
Absolutely. I thought about that when I was first like doing this, and like when people would ask me like, why are you making music? Like why music? I mean, aside from the blatant obvious answer, which is I love it and like I have real passion for it, it was more so like being a shining example in my family of like what somebody looks like if they are doing what they love, and what that looks like when the world rewards them for doing what they love. I do give my dad and my mom a lot of credit, shout out moms and pops, for always saying that to me, about like, so what do you love? What do you love? And they may not have given me tangible steps, you know what I mean, to like succeed in the recording industry, because
I mean they were first gen immigrants, right?
like what are we gonna exactly, like what are you gonna really expect of your parents who have left everything they knew to create something of such immense value in a whole foreign land? Like, how are you gonna put them onto like social norms, let alone like how to succeed in something that's so what do you call it, mystic and cryptic as the recording industry or the you know, the music industry, right? And especially at that time, bro, like, and I'm talking like, I'm flashing back, you know, now, like it's like 2003 2004, man, like that's I can remember the first time my dad, like, shout out my dad, I love him, you know, and like, and
how old
bless
were you?
him, I was 7th grade, that's what, like 13 maybe, 12 13, going in that range. I remember that first I guess interaction with my dad there with creativity and seeing his son actually do this. I just kept doing it, and I remember my dad just putting his hands up and kind of like not engaging with me about that side of my life. And I think, like, looking back on it now, I thank him for that, because like it allowed me the space to just like really be garbage at this for a long time before I became any kind of valuable in a way that I saw myself back as like a 13-year-old. You know, so like even me now, like in my 3rd decade of life, there's still that 13-year-old in me, you know, that like that still sees me with like awe when I'm in studios, when I'm talking to other much more talented people, you know, when I'm recording talented people, mixing their shit, or like, you know, making beats for them too. It's just like, these are all things that I saw as a kid, and like having that kind of I guess tying it back to just like the passion that you have for doing this podcast, you know, and like you wanted it to be something that your kids would be proud of. I wanted the same thing, you know. I wanted them to see somebody who like genuinely enjoyed making music. I still do, very much so, for sure, and I still do it. But I wanted my family to see me, you know, do that and be happy. And hopefully that way I'm happier for them, you know, through whatever their difficulties or hurdles might be, you know, and helping them out. So, damn, sorry, that shit just took me back in terms of immigrant culture. You know what I mean? How did you navigate that in terms of, you know, like you said, you grew up in Saudi, right? And then you come here to college, right? Missouri, right? And then did you go back ever? Did you go back home like after college? Like,
to visit, but that's it. Like I didn't go back to stay, you know?
Sure. Oh, okay.
Yeah, for me it was like
damn, so you were just here after you left home, you were
right.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, you know, for my experience it was like my immigrant story is like 2 immigrant stories, honestly, because the first one is like from you know, I'm originally from Bangladesh, you know, but I was born in Saudi Arabia.
So you yourself are an immigrant?
Yeah. So like the first part of my life was we were like expats in Saudi Arabia,
right? I remember
which is kind of like, you know, but it's not immigrants obviously, but it's like we're in a, you know, different country, but we're originally from a host different country, you know? Right.
You're of a different descent than the country that you're in.
It's a different host country, you can say.
I see.
So that was a different experience for me, you know, as an expat, you know. Right. And then I moved to the U.S., you know, for college, and since then, now I'm a first-gen immigrant, you know, and so it's like 2 different immigrant experiences. So that's
that's like double whammy. Yeah. My mom and my dad, they come from the same place in India, so they have a very, very narrow perspective come up, you know, especially back at that time when the world was so much smaller, so different. You just couldn't connect to people over the ocean so easily, so you didn't really know how other people lived. Like, this is how you did things. And
we're both immigrants. You know, you're a 2nd-gen immigrant. You were born here, right? Like, where were you born?
I was born in Hayward, California. So that's Northern California, Bay Area. Nice. We stayed there for most of my life. Oh, cool. So or all my life. So up until recently in 2020 when I moved down to SoCal. I was born in Hayward. We lived in Union City, Fremont, and then we moved to San Jose.
Nice.
Yeah, it was that was quite the time, you know, because like there were just so significantly less people, and in like significantly less neighborhoods, and like just all of a sudden you had thousands of kids now at high schools.
Wow.
When before your high school class would be like 200, 300. So maybe you broke 1,000 kids total in the school. I remember when we were going to school, there were like 2,200 kids or something like that total, and that's on the lower end. But I'm just saying, like,
so that was like
just
what,
a different time.
Before the 2000s? Are you talking about a time?
So we grew. Well, I moved to San Jose in 2003.
Oh, okay.
So
at the beginning of 2003, it was like
so where we
less
moved.
people.
Oh my God, so much less. So where we moved, our house was the end, the cutoff point, and then it was all winery. And it was all like open farmland, and then it was just the hills. It was a beautiful view.
That sounds
fantastic.
Awesome. Yeah.
And at that time too, like if you had like, you know, if this, you know, like the dollar isn't what it used to be, you know,
Sure,
like
yeah.
the weight was different.
Right.
And I think because like there was just not that many houses and stuff, like, you know, it was, you could afford a level of space.
Sure.
But I remember shortly after we moved where we moved, the development started like behind our house, where it was just neighborhoods and parks and a cool like half a square mile or something like that just got filled up with like these, you know, somewhat slender homes, you know, and like you're just starting to pack people in, you know, and which is cool. But yeah, there was a level of crowd now that like, or a level of just population density
right,
that like wasn't there before. So yeah,
what made that
different.
happen? Like what was the population?
I would say a lot of the tech boom.
So I was okay. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. The
tech boom. Yeah, Menlo Park.
So it probably started
Palo Alto.
even before you moved there.
No, so
and you
yeah,
saw
100%.
like the bulk of it after you moved there.
Yeah. And I remember just like the influx, you know, of people coming in because these companies need a lot. Their workforces are huge, and I think it was all centralizing in Silicon Valley. You know, and I think that was like the heyday beginning. And that was where I feel like a lot of the immigrant influx.
Right.
I think that's why it really like picked up, especially in that region.
Right. How was growing up with, you know, first gen immigrant parents?
Man, how was that? Man, I told you I was into like the Mundir. So like that was like, see, that was my balancing act. I don't know if I did that consciously or if I did that subconsciously, but I wanted to do something that made my parents proud.
Oh, so you chose?
Oh, 100%.
Okay, so what are we talking about here?
I'm talking. So what I chose was the dance portion. I love Garba and Ras.
Okay.
So that's that Gujarati kid inside. So that's folk dance. That's like very traditional to Gujarat,
and it's,
that region.
And it's like part of the Mandir experience?
Yeah, so it originally it's like a religious root. There's a religious connotation, or what do you call it, undertone, foundation to it. Yeah. And I remember going there as a kid, you know, like 4 or 5, like my parents, like them being Gujarati, like they would go to the little garbas that were there, especially up in Hayward and stuff, like at Cal State, like in the colleges and stuff, and you'd have big bands playing and they would go for like hours into the night, like 1 a.m. 2 a.m. Why an 8-year-old is up that late, you know, you don't gotta ask them, and you don't ask a 90s parent that, you know what I mean? Like it was much more gung-ho and like, yo, we're gonna try to do whatever we can to keep some part of our culture alive.
Right.
And I really like that part. The Mandir, the temple, it was a good learning experience in hindsight, but as a kid I can tell you I didn't enjoy it as much. There was maybe like a few things, like just meeting some friends there, maybe like people that you grew to met, like people there were generally nice, so like but you weren't really going there to like have fun, you know, because I was going there to learn Gujarati. And then that's also where I learned some parts of music, like fundamentals of music, you know, like do re mi so I don't really know the do re mi scale, but I know the sa re ga ma pa da ni sa, like I know that. So that's how I learned like scales and things like that, and I learned leads and chords and learning like in the temple itself. So there was immense value there, not to mention that's where I got like my biggest like stage time as a kid. And for anybody out there that's doing music, it's one thing to do it in your room. It's another thing to get up on stage when the lights are on, when there are like 20 other moving parts around you that you are performing amidst. And that's something that I'm very thankful for the temple, for the immigrant experience, the immigrant parent experience, because they made me part of an ecosystem, part of a social kind of gathering where they called on me to be part of a really big, like, you know, like performance. And so there were multiple performances that happened in my like 3-4 years that I was active in the temple. But there was one specific one that I was telling you about, where like we performed at the Anaheim Convention Center. Okay. And it was in front of like 2,000 plus people. Okay. And within the temple, there's like different gurus, right? Like, and so this particular guru was coming to visit. There was going to be this really big celebration, and all the male kids, all the boys were going to put on a show, which was going to last about like an hour and a half. Okay. And I was, along with another friend of mine that was similar in age, we were the two MCs, quote unquote, that were going to be introducing the different acts on throughout the program. So yeah, like there was just a whole like backstory. There was just such a big undertaking that I didn't know what I was getting myself into, and now looking back on it, I don't think my parents really knew what they were like kind of releasing me into. But I'm really thankful that happened, for sure. So like, yeah, like, are we trying to detail this right now?
Sure.
We got time right now?
Yeah,
okay,
go ahead.
So like this performance was happening in Anaheim. I'm gonna say, like, you just set the clock back now like 8 days from that performance happening. 8 days out, the head of who's running this show and who's like the showrunner calls my parents saying, you know, we thought that we could get through this rehearsal thing without them here, but without them here for the last like 3 days, like, you know, but we're gonna need him here now. So we're gonna need him to get in a car or in a carpool at the Milpitas Mandir, the temple there, and they'll drive him down to Whittier, and he'll stay at the temple there for I think it was like 5 nights, something like that.
Wow. As like, how old were you?
So I'm 13 now.
13.
That's 7th grade.
Okay, 7th grade.
12 going on 13. I'm pretty young. I'm just getting my little whiskers, you know, like right here. And
wow, dude. So 13. And how's that for you? Like, was this like
years.
the first time, like, was it like your first time?
No, but like we visited, like going to Universal Studios. And yeah.
Like, we first time by yourself?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
And like, again, I don't know what I'm getting myself into.
But you were excited, or was
No, I'm nervous.
Okay.
I'm thoroughly nervous. And also like, I just want to like state that, like, I don't want to pat my back too hard, but I was generally an obedient kid. Like, I rarely questioned what my mom and dad said or like what they asked of me. Sure. That changed as you got into high school, you know, and as you get older. But like right now I'm 12, 13, like I'm not really like having original thoughts, you know? And so they're telling me now that, you know, like, you were going to go to Whittier. Sorry, bro. Excuse me. You know, you were going to go to Whittier on Friday, but they want you there tomorrow, and tomorrow meant Saturday. So that's like that far away.
Like
a week, almost a little bit more than a week out. Shit. I think maybe a little less than a week out. Sorry. So it was like the phone call came in on maybe a Saturday, and I had to leave that Sunday morning to go. And so like my mom goes upstairs, like packs my duffel bag, you know, gets my little like clothes and everything ready. At that time, I got my first like cell phone. So I guess maybe my parents had that at least, you know, like they could call me and that stuff. So that was there. But bro, I don't know if like you've been to temples as much, but it's a very, I don't know if austere is the right word. It's a very, it's a strict environment, especially the sect of Hinduism that I'm talking about, the BAPS. Okay. And no disrespect, is just strict. And the whole show is put on by males. There's no female or no women in sight, and that's because of the saints. The saints are putting it on, actually, and they are actually very talented musicians. They're talented dancers, choreographers. Like, they have their skill set.
Sure.
But they're the ones that are managing these teenage boys, essentially, that are putting on the show. And so it was the kind of the everybody that was at the San Jose temple, they were going to collaborate with the boys that were at the Whittier temple.
Oh, okay.
And so that was going to be the big show. And so they were rehearsing all at that Whittier temple. And I had to drive down. No one told me that I was going to be driving with Saints.
Okay.
Dog, I've never been around them like this, like for this long, you know? And so this is my first time. I am a little Saheer sitting like bucket, you know, left nut. There's Saint sitting right in the middle. There's another Saint sitting on that door on the other side, right? So there's 3 of us. Then there's another Saint sitting shotgun. And then the curator, or the person who actually takes care of the temple in San Jose, his son was the one that was driving us all.
Oh.
Dog, we left maybe early morning, like 6, something like that. And we're flying down 5, you know, and all of a sudden we pull off in the middle of the Central Valley somewhere. Don't know where we are. It's a farmland. And we go to somebody's almond farm. Okay. Never been to an almond farm before. And they're dragging this kid along that they've never met before. You know, that's me. And it's just me. And I'm going through this huge, like, it's a big plant. And like, I don't know, they're inspecting that. I don't know what they're doing. And we're just walking around. They're saying hi, hello, or whatever. And we toured this place for like an hour. We got back on the road. We're getting back.
So somebody they knew.
Yeah, somebody. I'm sure somebody part of the organization. They maybe they wanted to go bless the place. I don't know what they were doing. I have no idea. But it was just bizarre. Like where I'm going right now, nothing's being told to me. You know, like I'm just going. And they pull back off onto Highway 5. And for all of my temple kids out there, you know what Arti is. And do you know what Arti? So I believe it's 3 times a day. Okay. You sing this hymn. You sing this. It's like it's a bhajan, a song. You know, like kirtan. Like it's
like a prayer. Like
it's a prayer. It's a prayer, but like it's a certain one. It's a sort of a special one that like people, if they're gonna go visit the temple, they want to make arti. They want to be there for that. They just started in the car, no warning. And I've never like jumped before ever in my life, dog. They just started, and oh man, they just start clapping. They're going into it, and I just like, oh yeah, we're going, you know. And it was a very eye-opening experience as to how committed people are to their religion, right? And how far off I was not committed to this religion, and like you know, from there, that experience like opened my eyes to so many things. So like. That was my first, like, just looking back on it, my first like real lesson in like learning myself and like who I was, and that like I think I lived a much more liberal and relaxed home life where my parents weren't like pummeling this religion thing that we are this and you know they are that and all that kind of stuff. Like I think my parents very much reserved that for Sunday. But this was a very special case because there was a very big program that was happening with a lot of moving parts, right? And they needed me to be there for rehearsal. So, bro, we got pulled over, by the way, on the way there. Shit. Okay. Bro was flying down, right? It's 90, 95, and I think they probably lit the fire under his ass saying, like, yo, we need them down here, you know? Like, we need to get to work and shit. And so, yeah, we got pulled. I remember the cop looking in the back seat and then seeing this kid and seeing these saints and just looking like perplexed and being like, you know, I'm just going to give these people this ticket and get the fuck on because, like, I don't know what I just stopped right now. But, yeah, so, we get to the temple finally, you know, and this is my first, like, real time being away from home, you know, like, on my own. And at the temple, they provide meals, you know, and that's all said and done. And the only thing that was a little bit different for me was the sleeping and the showering situation.
Yeah, where did you stay?
The sleep. So they have an assembly hall, right? That's where everybody sits, right? That's where they have their usually Sunday sermons, right? That's where we slept, in that hall, huge hall, and we're just sleeping in this little like side, you know, like corner area. On the floor, you know, in our sleeping bags. And when it's shower time is 6 a.m. because breakfast is going to be served at 7. 6 a.m. you get to shower. It's no more than 2 minutes because there's no hot water. It's cold. That's it. And I don't know if I've never done this before after that, but though that was probably the worst way to wake up ever in life. And for folks who need that cold shower therapy, all more power to you. You know, I hope it helps. But that scarred me in terms of like, I don't ever want to do a cold shower. At best, like lukewarm, you know what I mean? But like, just damn, like this is just ice cold in the morning. You're waking up. And
a lot of people do cold plunges, you know, as soon as they wake up, and then like
they
it peaks their adrenaline and everything, you know.
Man, I've heard, and like I think healing wise also, right? Like people do it after workouts and stuff, and that's different. This was involuntary, and this is a 13-year-old kid, man. Like I'm like holy, and like there's another thing to mention, right? Like at these temples, it's no meat, right? No onion. No garlic. So the palate is also very mild. I'm used to the spices mom makes at home. Right. So the food isn't the same either. Breakfast is cool. You know, breakfast is chai, like, and especially with Gujarati folks, like I love our breakfast. Like it's like it's very unhealthy, but you know, it's it's fun to eat in
delicious.
The morning. Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, that was the more of the, you know, kind of the grueling, like staying part. But what was more, what I appreciated about this whole thing was there was one saint, for the sake of discretion, I won't name him, but he was, my designated kind of caretaker. And anytime, like waking hours when we were rehearsing and stuff, he always made sure I was like extra good. And he was one of these guys that always spoke to me in English. He gave me like level-headed advice. If he wasn't with his orange clothes on, like you wouldn't think he was a saint, you know? So he would know about hip hop, you know, he knew about like American culture and stuff. And like, man, like that was very like comforting, you know? And like knowing that like, okay, they're not all like closed off essentially.
Sure.
Because that car ride down, no one said anything to me. No one really spoke to me. No one really asked me about who I was or what I liked. Nothing. You know, they're just like, I was just cargo essentially that I had to get down there. But as soon as I was there, the one of the main like showrunner saints, he took a liking to me and like really looked out for me and watched out for me. He was in communication with my dad as well.
Sure.
So like that I think also may have eased my parents a little bit in that I was doing that. But man, the rehearsals were grueling. Like it was all day, and you got your lunch break, but you went back at it. And we as MCs weren't just coming out saying, okay, this is next XYZ, whatever. This was a drama. So these were lines in Hindi that I was going to deliver live, and we were going to have recorded footage that they were going to put on the big LEDs when they couldn't get us live, and they were going to make that decision live. So we had to be ready, not knowing which one we were actually going to be live for.
Oh wow,
bro, like 13 years old, man. I remember it was 2 a.m. and we were shooting these scenes that were going to go up the next day. And I remember that saint bringing us, me and my friend, I'm not going to name him either out of discretion, but bro, like me and him, like we were up like 2 a.m. like shooting. There were like 3 cameras on us. There was a crew, and then there was lights and adjustments, and they brought snacks out. I'd never had a banana and an apple at like 3 a.m. But dude, I had to be up. And I remember they were like, you know what? We tried to hide it with makeup, but your stash, you know, we're gonna need to. And bro, they took Elmer's scissors, you know, the blunt ass scissors, and they just snipped it off. And I remember when my dad saw me, he was looking at my face like, what happened to you? And just knowing that like this is what you essentially did for a show. This is what you did for when you were going to appear as a representative of a larger organization. You were going to do what they said, and you were going to play ball. You were going to be a player there. Man, I remember, bro, I didn't have contacts then. So I had very high prescription, like even for a kid, like I think I was at like -5 and 6. It was pretty bad. They weren't going to let me wear glasses. So now, I don't know if anybody's been to the Anaheim Convention Center, but like when they make these makeshift stages, they are giant, you know, platforms, right? Like 50, 60 feet across, like they're huge. and you have different wings that you got to enter in from.
Yeah.
And when it's showtime, everything is dark. Like, you don't get special lights to like show where you're going, bro. I am blind. and I am going upstairs trying to be like, okay, is this the right wing? I think it is. I think that's him across the stage. Dude, like, these are things that I'm going through by myself.
So funny.
And like, no one's really, and like day of, like, they expect you to know your marks, you know, like, because you have been rehearsing. And oh man, there's just so many stories. Yeah, there's just so many stories throughout that whole experience. But like, for the most part, I'm really thankful that like I got that, you know, I got that, like, that real, like, the shit's on you, you know what I mean? Like, if the cue goes and you're not there, your co-host there is going to be talking to no one. It's going to look terrible. Like, it's going to look foolish. Like, you have to really be on point. And especially with this whole thing about, okay, no, not now. They're doing it on the screen. No. Okay, now, go. You know, so you're like always waiting for a cue. You're understanding that like everyone's playing it by ear, you know, like, and you're working with a you know, like front of house department, right? Like there's the audio visual, right? Like who's actually running the shit, and that's like 7 people in that booth over there. Bro, it was, as a 13-year-old, it was overwhelming, but some of the most fun I've had. Like being a performer and being in that environment, live show environment. And that's young, right? That's 13 years old. That's shaping you for who you're gonna be as an adult. And like right now, like I'm like, excuse me, like salivating at the mouth thinking about like doing a world tour, and just knowing how much fun that would be, coupled with the same amount of stress, you know. But like it would just be like things that I would just like love, you know, and like kind of get lost into. And that was all possible because like my parents brought over their culture and made sure that their kids were, you know, involved and knew that they come from this, so that whatever happens outside now, you know, like you can go, you know, create your twist, you can go create your own experience, but you at least have this, which is set, that this is where mom and dad come from, this is what they celebrate, and from that, like I kind of went away from the temple, you know, like I didn't really visit the temple side, but the showmanship side, the Garba Ras side, like the rapping, you know, like the performance, like that I just took with me to heart, and just continue to always, anytime, any chance I got to perform, whether it was some like random bar out in Westminster or if it was like a big like theater somewhere, you know, it was always like met with the same level of enthusiasm. Man, that's my immigrant.
That's a classic immigrant kid story. You know, like I feel like so many kids from India experience that. So many kids from Bangladesh, like whose parents are originally from Bangladesh, or Arab kids. You know, Muslim immigrant kids. You know, experience the same thing in mosques. You know, like Eid time comes and they, you know, have all these experiences, the same kind of thing, like these large mosques. You know,
gatherings and
like even
that's its own society. So, right.
Even here in Southern California, there's some like ginormous mosques. And during the festival times, like they're filled with kids like you know, like, man. And I feel like even Hispanic immigrant kids are facing this, like experiencing the same kind of experiences. Sure. Like going to church every Sunday and having to do all these things on Easter.
Any immigrant kid, man,
like
really
enjoying at the same time experiencing something from their parents' heritage. You know?
And I hope that they can, like the more that you can, like enjoy it. I hope you do. Just because like phases in life, you know, these are all temporary, and everything is temporary. And like I look back on it now thinking like, like they were just like trying to show me like really what they came from, and like to embrace that, you know, and to not like think that you can't add on to it, or maybe redefine it, reclaim it even. I think that's important if your culture is going to survive. I think kids and younger talent have to actively want to express it and keep it alive, but in their own way. And I think that's translated across the map, you know, like for every culture, anybody that has like a sort of immigrant experience in any degree, where they know that, you know, their ancestry has like its own way of life, you know, and they they now melded it into this new evolution of whatever it is.
Right.
Now you continue to tell that story, you know, you continue to pass that down.
Right.
And I think that's what's so important. That's why we do this too, right? It's just like to pass the right things down.
That's right.
And to make sure that the people that come after us, like, they're not left with a sense of, okay, how did we get here? You know?
Right.
And so I like that part about just the hybrid experience, you know, like having a totally fresh environment that our parents really couldn't forecast.
Yep.
I know that comes with its risks, excuse me, and I know that it's not to be taken lightly, but like that's how we progress. That's how we get better as like humans, and like we create better lives for all of us. Because like I saw my parents, like, you know, like they worked themselves to the bone, like they had to, you know, because like this was that was their circumstance, you know, coming here to a new country. And I'm not saying I don't work hard or I don't want to work hard, but I do know that there's a balance to life, and that it shouldn't come at the cost of your happiness. Right. So there is a way that if we can just, like, you know, not be too pessimistic all the time, you know, like maybe just give it the good old college try. Right. You know, you might see some new frontiers come up. Yeah. And I see that already in like the music space. Like if you see, I mean, 10, 20 years ago, you didn't have nearly as many like South Asian hip hop, or even R&B, like just international EDM artists. Tracks. No, let alone that. You know,
you didn't see that. And I think, you know, the best thing I like about this current society and this current age is this hybrid feeling of like, I you know, because of social media, you have access to all the world's information. Yeah. And people don't necessarily always feel like being that they have to just be a certain way. They can learn from other cultures. Yeah. You know, and for us, it's like, as immigrants, it's like we can take the best of both worlds. You know, the best of our backgrounds, our heritage, and the best of the new world that we're in. You know, it's like it just creates a better environment for that, you know. And, and due to this, I feel like artists and musicians from internationally global artists are more like given the preference, or like people are listening to them now,
they're open to it
just because of this hybrid understanding. Like, oh, it doesn't just have to be XYZ. It can also be ABC all the way to Z. You know, like it doesn't have to be just
There's
these
so
things.
Many possibilities of living, so many possibilities of like celebrating.
Right.
And also the sounds. You know, the sounds seem fresh.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's a different thing when you get globally inspired music. Right. Because I think it acts on like a human level. Right. More so than like a what do you call it? An environmental or like a regional level. Right. So like I don't need much context when the beat sounds like that, you know, or when the melody or the singer sounds like that. It's just got to be really dope. And like I think at this point, like because of the internet, like now we can see how, you know, how are they really doing it over there, you know, what are they doing, and how can we maybe put a little bit of that on this side and move forward and not get stale. That's like a major good point about today's day and age. It's a recent thing. That's just all I'm saying. It's
it really
very
is.
new.
Yeah.
It's much more now.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Like growing up, it wasn't like that, you know, and immigrants, or not immigrants, but like different rappers or hip hop artists, even pop artists from different cultures didn't get all this attention.
Hell no.
And nowadays, like, you know, I know like a Saudi rapper, you know, like who's really good, kicking ass in Universal Arabia. Sure. You know what I mean? That's a large contract for somebody from Saudi. Like that is like 20 years ago. That is like, what are you talking about?
Right,
you know, there's no way.
The mainstream.
Please fuck off. You know, what do you mean you're gonna rap in some other language and try Arabic to be famous and successful at it? You know, that's what people would say. Like 20 years ago.
Right.
You know?
No, but not now. It's like you don't know where your market is, and you don't know like that. There's just like billions of people on this planet, and you don't have to be liked by everybody. No. It's not that day anymore. Man, I remember when it was a big deal when Jin came out. You remember Jin?
Yeah, I do. The freestyle rapper.
Yeah. Like, and it was like the Asian rapper. Yeah, you know what I mean? Dude. Yeah. And so like, what did you normally see in mainstream pop, hip hop, rap? It was either black or white. Mm-hmm. But as people grow, as like, you know, technology grows, and you start like just, you know, natural curiosity like you start noticing that, like, there's some really fly stuff happening over there in South America, with like reggaeton and like what else was. What's the other
Afrobeats?
Afrobeats. Sorry.
Yeah, all that has taken over the world.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
You cannot name a global hit now that doesn't have that rhythm.
Right.
And doesn't have that kind of like very light, airy, beachy vibe. Right. Man, I love it. And I love that like America has, just embraced that.
Right.
And not been arrogant in that way. And like at least in that regard, like we are willing to take on like other cultures and embrace other cultures. Right. As long as it's fire, let's go. Like let's hear it.
Yeah.
I think a part of the Black Panther soundtrack, a lot of it, not a lot, but what was that song? Seasons. It was in Swahili. That first verse. I don't know what he's saying, but man, doesn't it sound good. But you couldn't do that. You know what I mean? Like 10, 15 years ago, you couldn't put a straight up like Swahili like singer rapper type thing on a Dr. Dre Kendrick produced album type. It wasn't gonna happen. But look at where we are. It's really dope, man.
Yeah. It's just like it makes me feel like it has started to go in this nice direction where it's like we can embrace all the cultures, and then there's also pushback as well for that, and therefore I feel bigger responsibility to support that, support the expansion of cultures and like making America a real melting pot for everything that is available.
Absolutely. Like we have to be on the forefront of that. Kids nowadays, like if they're gonna identify with their parents' culture, it's because they're like actually interested in it.
Right.
There is a minority, there's always gonna be people who like blindly follow things and who make their parents' problems their problems, and that's something that I hope people can grow out of and like just kind of open their minds up a little bit. There's always going to be folks that are there, but for the most part I find that these second generation kids that like that are younger than myself, like they're much more open-minded, and they'll pick you apart just as easy, so like if you're not really airtight with your intentions, then like that you can get called out easier. Things won't work out as well. It's not just because you are from a certain culture that like we're going to champion you, which I like. And like I like that there is that kind of progressive, like you said, like there's an overall kind of push towards like opening up to other cultures. And like as much as I think about myself as that 13-year-old kid, going to Whittier and stuff, like I didn't know what I was going to get myself into. It was more so just like letting it happen. And a lot of the stuff that happens like religiously, in terms of practice and ritual and all that, bro, I don't know none of that. I don't know any of that. I don't even know some of these names. Like I'm not. Sure. So for me, I was very go with it. I kind of like opened myself up, to like, okay, we're just gonna do this for now. It's not forever. Let's just try to like make the most of it. And from that, like I have all this stuff. I have this wealth of like experience that I feel like most people don't get, especially when it comes to like showmanship and like, performing arts. Yeah, man.
Yeah, and that whole experience, you like kind of lived like a monk for a few days. So that's good. It's always good to live like a monk for a little bit. I feel like everybody in this world, if they could just live like a monk, or like that type where it's like away from the world, away just disconnect. From disconnect from the noise, just sleep on a mat somewhere, somewhere, preferably somewhere beautiful where the nature is nice, just breathe,
not by the freeway in Whittier, like that was that wasn't the most ideal location, but yes, you're right in terms of living like a monk, and that it was a minimalist lifestyle.
That's advantageous to the human brain, It
is.
I like to do that, but I don't get to do that as much more recently in the past couple of years. But it's something I've enjoyed for a good portion of my life, where it's like at least once a year I would try to go somewhere. Like in America, we're so lucky to be blessed with so many nature reserves and
sure like national parks and
national
stuff.
Parks, like some of these places they're
great for that.
Epic. It's great for that. Just go camping out for a little bit, turn off your phone, no network, like that's when the phone doesn't have network. That's like,
hell yeah,
that's like that little time, that I used to enjoy that time, like in a flight when you wouldn't have network. and be like, all right, man, for the next few hours, nobody can reach me.
I love that.
And now it's like, oh, even in flights I have Wi-Fi. Well, I guess I don't have to click it, but
no, it's there now, and it's itching at your brain that you didn't open that up. You're right. Like I did. What was I just gonna say? Damn it. I lost my train of thought, but you're right. That as soon as they got Wi-Fi on airplanes and stuff. Oh, that like when you're a traveler and you're on your way, that time in your life going from A to B, you have no other purpose.
Right.
You know, like that's why
I love that. Yeah,
that's what you're here for. Just
being there.
Just recharge a little, cool off. Like try not to concern yourself with what's gonna happen at B and what's gonna happen after. Like live right here. And appreciate just, being able to not have to worry about anything. We're traveling.
Yeah, it's like it's forced. We're forced to be present, and if being present makes us so happy, that means like we should practice being present like every day,
always.
Because that's the key. Like when we're not worried about the next, and we're not regretting the past or like reanalyzing all the shit. It's like if we can be truly present, that's when we're just like really enjoying.
And that's when things happen, man. Yeah. I won't lie. That's like things come to you too.
Yeah.
If we're talking about a productive, in the productivity conversation, when you when you just be present, you can also accomplish a lot. Thoughts can come to you easier as well.
Right.
And then for relaxation wise, like, it feels good not to have to worry about nothing, for some time. You got a 10-hour flight. All right, cool.
Oof, yeah, I love those type of international flights where it's like, damn.
Man, I don't know. You can do a 16-hour flight.
I like those.
Oh, my God, dude. Oh, man. From San Francisco to, I think it was to Dubai.
Uh-huh.
Oh, my God. It's 16 hours.
Yeah, it's a lot, right? But
when you're on hour 11 and you still have 5 left, are you... Oh, my God.
I agree. Like, it gets a lot, but it's like... But if like my whole strategy with these long haul flights is movies. Like I watch so many movies, and I'm just like in this zone. Like
that's
just
pretty good that you can
so
do that.
Good.
I can't watch more than like 3 movies, man. After that, like
I'd be watching, man. I like those, and you know what I used to have a strategy of like befriending the people, the stewards.
Yeah,
I would just make friends. Like at the beginning of the flight, I would just be like, "Hey, what's up? Tell me your story. What's your story?" And they would start telling me things like, "Oh, I'm from Poland," and all these places, and I'd be like, "Wow!" And then I'm from Croatia, and tell me, and I'd be like, "Wow, how's growing up over there?" And have all these conversations, and I'd be like, "All right, I'm gonna go watch a movie." And then the rest of the flight, they're your
homies.
That's like my strategy. Like
no, that's a good one. That's a good one, like, especially for those long haul flights. Like, take advantage.
I don't think I can do that anymore because with the kid now,
you gotta be attentive. You gotta be attentive.
Because sometimes I would just be like, oh, and then pass out.
No, it's perfect.
Wake up.
It's perfect.
Like, one more.
But that with kids now, like it's not like your business, like your vacation is like a business trip. You know what I mean? With logistics and stuff, and like it's a whole production. I told you we went to Hawaii, so that was like its own like we'll get better at it though, and it'll feel less and less like an ordeal. I'm sure.
Right.
Yeah, bro.
It's like these immigrant experiences. Like I grew up all my life just traveling different countries, and then I still do that, and my son will experience that a lot too,
Nice.
But it's like it like forms you in some ways, like having to travel to different countries as a kid.
Of course, everybody should travel as soon as you can, as often as you can. Go to new places, like really see how other people live,
right?
And then when you come back home, like live with the level of appreciation,
right.
For what you do have. I think that's the greatest in terms of life experience. I think traveling for sure.
Yeah.
And immigrant wise, like I think living in another country comes with pros and cons. So to that, like I still feel like if you feel like opportunity, you go where opportunity is, and I think that's where you'll find success there.
Right.
But for traveling though, traveling is I think a little bit less consequential, and I think like if you can carve out little weeks here and there to different places,
right.
Expand your horizons, you'll only benefit.
That's right. Like I think like in many ways that's the reason why I want to like do so many things, like create new ideas and follow my dreams, like things that I really want to do. Like I do those things just because like I feel like, you know, as an immigrant, I've seen different places and how people live in different countries, you know, and
Right.
I just feel this responsibility that if I'm here, you know, I've sacrificed a lot to be here, you know.
Of course.
That needs to mean something, and
Of course.
not just something small just for me.
It shouldn't
It needs
have
to mean something for a lot of
for
people,
generations
like
to come.
generation, yeah. Like my little sacrifice should lead to more, because I feel like personally, I feel like that's how it'll make sense for me to sacrifice so much.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
in the
yeah.
future.
Or what makes it worth it?
Yeah, what makes it worth it? Like there's a quote I read a while ago. It's on my wall because this is so important to me.
Internalizing it.
Yeah, it is. You know, it's you either have the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. You know, like you will still age, but you'll have
There's pain involved either way.
either way. Yeah.
Might as well.
Yeah, it can't be
disciplined.
regret though. You know, like
Regret is a scary monster, man.
Yeah, and that's my thing. Like, I don't want to be like 59 and look back and be like, man, you know, I'm a first-gen immigrant. I sacrificed this much time with my family and with all these experiences, you know, to live here, you know,
Yeah,
and
like
create my own family, which is great, you know. But like I don't want to live in regret in my when I'm 59, thinking like I didn't do anything else other than just move there. You know,
Right,
like,
right. No,
I just moved there, worked a job, got a house.
You want to do something that
Yeah.
was something that left an impact.
Yeah, something that fucking makes sense to do all the sacrifice. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Because
know.
then, like, why do all of this?
Yeah, like just
to live here.
Yeah, just to live like somebody else's dream. Like, you know,
Sure.
even that's like a worse nightmare to have. Like to do all this and then turn 70 and be like, fuck, that wasn't really my dream.
Yeah, like I didn't. Yeah,
You know?
yeah. That's a lot. That's a lot of
Yeah.
time wasted. You
You're
will
right.
never get back.
Yeah.
And so no, I don't as difficult as my journey has been personally,
Mm-hmm.
like no, like I can wholeheartedly say I'm happy with the steps that I took
Right.
to get to where I am.
Right.
And like the immigrant, you know, the immigrant struggle or the immigrant story
Yeah.
is very much a part of that.
Right.
You know,
right.
and especially the formative years.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, our future selves, I just want them to be proud of us, you know, like
Oh, 100%.
and you know, I want to look back at myself like when I'm 60 and go like, yeah, you know what? Some of those years were really tough, but look at us now.
Yeah.
You know, like fucking awesome.
And that's what that's what it is, bro. Just keep your head down doing work.
Right.
Keep doing good work. And then everything else kind of manifests itself.
Right. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think that's a dope episode. Again,
Yeah.
another one.
Hell yeah.
It's you know, it's so much fun to do these with you. I'm excited, you know, to also hear from the audience what you guys think about each of these episodes. Leave some feedback and
Absolutely.
you know, get to us on on YouTube, and sign up for that newsletter.
Hell
We
yeah.
call it the 1+1=3 newsletter.
Oh shit.
Each newsletter, like each
Yeah.
newsletter is once a week, so we're not gonna spam you. But like each of them has one main theme,
Right.
one big question, and
Right.
3 bullet points, you know, game-changing bullet points
There
for
it is.
artists, musicians, managers, entrepreneurs, brand builders, you know.
Right, right.
Every week, so it's a 1+1=3, you know, because that's
Alright.
synergy, you know.
Yeah.
And you know,
Okay.
we do it every week, just like with a lot of passion. So if you guys get value out of it, let us know.
Hell yeah.
We put a lot of thought into each of these newsletters, and you know, it carries the same energy that these episodes do, where we want you to live an authentic life in an inauthentic world. You
Yep.
know, we want you to live unfiltered, but don't be an asshole.
Yeah.
All right, so here,
All right,
thank you
man.
for everything.
Hell yeah, bro.